governance. He said today, and I spoke to him on the phone, that the shares should be suspended until the company comes out with further details explaining exactly what happened. He also said we need to know more about what the allegations are and what the findings exactly are. I put a phone call into to Liu Ting-an, the company secretary at China Life, and here's what he had to say. He said that there's a Pricewaterhouse report that's due in April of this year coming out with respect to 2003. He also said there's a board of directors meeting coming up at the end of March. With respect to what David Webb wanted him to do, which was basically halt the stock, he says we have a difference of opinion. I'll leave it at that. And I also asked him, are any of the current employees involved in any of the potential criminal cases? And he said absolutely not. So I'll leave it with that. I also asked him, Citigroup, Lehman Brothers both recommended a sell on the stock. He had no comment on that as well. So this raises a bunch of questions, Christine. You know, did Citigroup, did Lehman Brothers know about this before the IPO? Is it possible? And what effect will this have on future IPOs coming out of China? Because certainly there's due diligence that's done before the IPO, but now we have to look at perhaps go even further back into the books and find out exactly what happened in the company before the IPO. So maybe cleaning up the books and cleaning up the balance sheets, maybe that's not enough. Maybe there needs to be an explanation of exactly what happened. Certainly a lot more answers or a lot more questions than there are answers at this time. Christine?
Thanks for that, Phil, as always. To talk more about China Life, let's go to Philip Chan, Research Director at Shenwan Securities. He joins us from Hong Kong. Philip, thanks very much for being with us. We know that China Life has admitted to these accounting irregularities at its parents, but no details were given. It did, however, come up with a press conference to try and assure investors that it faces no recourse. How do you make of the way the company is handling the problem so far? Are you satisfied with the way the company is going about it?
Well, they basically they're probably handling it as the best they can, and unfortunately, you see the way it may not be say completely satisfactory to all investors, but with Chinese companies, there have been problems in the past, even at some of the major ones, and unfortunately, the way some of the difficulties have been handled, have not been entirely satisfactory either, and it's just a question of the culture of, say, how to communicate with the press and how to and elements of disclosure which take time to develop in China.
You're an analyst covering a lot of these Chinese companies. Do you find that this is a problem that is rampant among the Chinese companies that you cover, or are there specific cases where companies are doing good practices, they are cleaning up their books, cleaning up their balance sheets?
There are many companies that are doing that, but there are much more companies that are not doing that, and that's the problems that we've had amongst the A-share companies, the B-share companies, and even some of the H-share companies, and it goes all the way to some of the major listed ones on the main board of the Hong Kong Exchange as well. So, like
Lehman Brothers and Citigroup, I mean, you also have a sell rating on China Life. How big a drag will this have on shares in particular?
Well, obviously, it was a landmark. Sorry, it was a landmark listing, and it's still fairly new to the market, so it will have some short-term detrimental effect. But the thing is, it listed at quite a reasonable price, and price targets at the time were within the 4 to 450 range. So at 540, which it reached recently, it was probably looking overvalued.
Will this shake up confidence? Anyway. Will this shake up confidence in other Chinese plays? I mean, there's a lot of euphoria going around China stocks at the moment. For instance, a lot of IPOs, Chinese IPOs, a lot of focus on that. Will it take away some of that interest?
Just temporarily, I think. I think the interest in China companies is still strong enough, and that's not going to go away in the long term. It's just a temporary measure, I think.
Okay, Philip, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for being with us as always. Philip Chan, Research Director, Shenwan Securities, joining us live from Hong Kong. Let's head over to Japan. Hitachi, the country's biggest electronics conglomerate.